Are we on? Oh, cool.
We are on.
Sorry, it's chaos.
That was convenient timing.
Chaos here at the FPF Studios / Rob's parents' garage. What's going on, FPF world? Justin Blanchard here, joined as always by Jim Collectors with his nice cup of coffee over here.
I didn't stir it before I made it,
Yeah.
so I'm just kind of giving it a swivel.
Yeah, no, it's all good. We got time.
You need a stick? I can pass you a stick.
Stick?
You want my sticky?
Whoa!
You guys don't know that reference, really?
I want to say I'm too young for it, and carry on. Listen, all right. So recaps here right away. As we got to Jagerbomb beating Blue Chips here, 33-22. Blue Chips now on a 5-game skid. Jordan Mitchell getting picked off the same amount of times in this game as he had in all games leading up to this one. 5. What's going on, man? What's going on with Blue Chips? You know, early on they look good. I mean, granted, I don't think that they were an elite team per se, but this was still a team with talent. This is still a team that can do damage. What's going on, in your opinion?
What works for them, and what hasn't. Like we mentioned that they play a really great game, but it tends to be one-dimensional at times, and as such, the sort of roll out and chuck it deep. If you have a good rusher and disciplined DBs, that's not always going to be open, and such is the case.
Yeah, I mean, we'll give a quick shout out here to Francois Hug, who I assumed rushed in this game despite not getting any sacks, because if your opposing quarterback gets throws 5 INTs, you would assume that the rusher played a little part in putting pressure on him.
You had mentioned last week that if there was anyone who needed to step up in this game, it would be Francois,
it'd be him.
and that's a name we've been hearing for Jagerbomb recently. And
definitely. Good to see for them also. Jean-Félix Dalloz finally stepping up here. 4 catches, 88 yards, 3 TDs. To be honest, though, maybe it's just me. I would assume that with 5 INTs, you'd score a bit more than 33 points. Is it me or that seems... Is it
comes
just
down to when the turnovers happen, like which team had ball possession for longer as well? That does come into account, but generally, yes.
So Jagerbomb now at 4-3.
Jagerbomb are exactly where we pictured them. They were off to a slow start. They struggled. Division C looked deep, and all of a sudden they're poking their heads out of the woodwork.
But this always happens with Jagerbomb. I don't know why we're surprised.
I'm not. We talked about it. I don't know if it's necessarily by design or just a product of them adjusting to how the different teams play in the respective division that they're in. But this growth, even in Division C, they're a strong team.
Well, look, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they got going on here in the season. Home for the Landais, probably a W for them. Bearskins and Shrimmery TD is still coming up. So, I mean, look, they're in the playoffs now, technically. But, I guess we'll see as time goes on. Cause I still don't know who Jagerbomb are, and we're 7 weeks in. I still can't say. This is, they're an elite team.
I could see them closing out the season 2-1 with those 3.
That's fair.
Just want a quick shout out Justin Blanchard for wearing green. Thank you.
Hey, look.
Really? It's that? Is it?
It's close.
Okay.
Even your shirt, GM, a little bit. There's a little bit of reflection with the light and with the background, so I had to fix it.
Look,
Thanks,
too late. All right, I'm blending in with the background right now. I am Papineau. Next game here. Speaking of Papineau, I assume it took place at Papineau. I don't know, to be honest. Bearskins taking into Impeccable D 30-25. That's now 2 losses in a row for Impeccable D. Ryan Aridi, interestingly enough, held without a touchdown 2 weeks in a row, going from 3 catches and 32 yards to this week 3 for just 16 yards. Mokan, you want to jump in here real quick?
Yeah, the Captain Obvious comment here. This was a game that was, in fact, controlled by Impeccable D in terms of the time of possession. You look at Jeff Rosenblatt's pass attempts
Got
total.
a whole bunch, huh?
And you can even ask the Bearskins. They'll tell you that we got lucky because what happened was, and this actually backfired for Impeccable D. They scored with essentially 6 plays left.
Scored too early.
But they scored too early. But the fact that Ryan Aridi, which was smart because he wasted time to make it 5 plays. And at that point, Neil Henson brought it down. They scored with 2 plays left. And Jeff Rosenblatt said in the sideline, crap, we shot ourselves in the foot. We shouldn't have done that. Maybe give ourselves an extra play. Who knows? And maybe they do get that extra pay. They win that football game. But their idea was good in theory, but was not executed well enough.
Look, I get that idea and that certain reasoning, but in FPF, like, nothing is guaranteed or even close to being guaranteed. If the opposing defense gives you a chance to score, you may not get that chance again. So
Yeah.
I would rather hope that the defense steps up rather than stretching out plays and then maybe not making the play on offense.
Yeah, especially, look, I'd understand depending on your style of play. We have to keep it real here. Impeccable D aren't exactly a Hail Mary type of team. I mean, they're known for their D. It's in their name. If anything, I would play some defense. On the flip side, if I'm Bearskins in that situation, then hell yeah. I mean, you got Sasha Papic up there. Give him that 40 bomb. Jeff Rosenblatt isn't exactly known for his long distance arm. I feel he's more of a kind of grinded out quarterback. So interesting decision. It kind of backfires here for them. So I mean. Given that there are now 2 losses in a row for them, is there any cause for concern as they kind of dropped from the Elite 2 to I think now they're down to 4-3 on the season?
Cause for concern? No, they're going to make the playoffs regardless.
But
considering this race in Conference B.
Does this change how you view them in terms of their positioning, vis-a-vis the other top teams in the
Not
division?
really.
All right.
If it came this close and they feel like they shot themselves in the foot, and this is sort of corroborated by Mo, is that turn of events, they're not far off from still being that number 2 or number 3 team, as the case may be.
All right. And on the flip side here, I think that current number 2 team in your conference now, Bearskins, Sasha Papic going ham
Another
here.
team who are exactly who we thought they were.
Yeah, definitely. And look, man, Papic, 5 catches, 105 yards, 3 TDs, 119 on defense. And Marco Bertoldi also going crazy. 6 for 104 and 2 TDs. Look, man, Neil Ensign, 120 plus QBR in the past 2 weeks.
Their only loss comes without the 2 of them.
Yeah, and whatever it was early season in terms of his struggles, perceived or not, like he is rolling right now. This team, I think, is really coming together at just the right time. I think, not really a dark horse given their record, but I think a couple weeks ago I had Impeccable D ahead of them. I think regardless of how the game ended, Bearskins are definitely back up there in my book. Currently up there, they've been up there the whole way through. The commission here, taking it to Backyard Bullies, 33-32.
I just want to say, the script says Simon Dagenet with the goods.
I got the goods from Simon Dagenet here. So essentially in this game, so a bit of context for those who didn't tune in last week, we knew that Backyard Bullies would be without Vinny Guilano. What I didn't mention is that they'd also be without Steve Sanner. They decided to bring in Sean Steen, who apparently went down with what, according to Simon Dagenet, is a concussion, but Simon Dagenet is like known for his doctoral skills. Yes, I just made up that word. He went down before half and didn't return. They bring in this guy, Jared Gallant. Please tell us about him.
So I coached Jared Gallant in FPF Junior, and aside from being just like a great kid and super coachable, Jared is 16, I think. He's 6'4" and is just like a massive presence on the field. He runs great routes. He has great sturdy hands. He's
16 and 6'4".
Yeah, he's huge. He's huge. He is Jordan Allard's brother, actually. So while they may not share the same last name, they definitely share the same sort of skill set. And I was a big fan to see him making his debut on this team and doing well.
Jared Gallant, 1 catch for 20 yards and 1 TD on offense and 1 tackle on defense. Look, man, I mean, you get called up. You did your part, right?
For a player who just played FPF Junior and has a 55 rating.
Definitely. And from what I understand here, it wasn't necessarily as close as the final score shows, as the commission missed a convert early on in the second to make it a 9-point lead. So what we have here is that late in the second half, after Backyard Bullies score, they go for the 40 bomb and they go up 8, and then they get the convert that's good for 1 for the 9-point lead. So they finally did get the 9-point lead towards the end of the game, and essentially the Bullies just kind of go one last drive and they get their own convert. So really, I guess a rather convincing win, if you will, despite the scoreline here for the commission. Now, that aside, the fact that Backyard Bullies were without Vinny Guilano, were without Steve Sanner. Do you consider this result a positive one?
I definitely consider it a positive, not just because of the 2 absences, but our biggest critique of Backyard Bullies this season is that they haven't been putting up enough points, and they put up 32 on the commission.
Yeah, and arguably without, I think, 2 of their better players. Although Alex Moreau here going crazy for 6 catches, 47 yards and 4 TDs. I'll definitely agree. I mean,
people always say, especially on his defensive skills in the upper division, that Alex Moreau is always like what you want him to be in a role on the team. Like he'll shadow the best receiver, or he'll be everywhere in the flats. And I guess in this instance, they needed him to step up on offense, and he did. So once again, one of the most underrated players that we don't often talk about.
Yeah, a very positive sign for Backyard Bullies going forward. On the flip side here, quick shout out Zachary Alberts-Gill with this 1 sack of Rich Humes. We can only assume that he did at least a decent job against Rich, who only went 17 for 30. Now for the commission here, look, man, I went back and I checked. Sean Avram is running away with the QB of the Year award. 40 TDs, 1 INT, 1,500 yards through the air. Really, the next closest guy is Jason Rossi, who's only got 32 TDs to 8 INTs. Is it safe to say that with 3 weeks to go that he's got this one locked up?
I think so too. Especially noteworthy is the low interception, low sack count, because even for some of the other QBs who have put up the similar, like, close touchdown numbers, it doesn't even come close to the lack of interceptions and sacks.
I score capped this game with Junkyard Dogs against Going Deep. Obviously, on paper, this should have been a complete mismatch, but Going Deep gave them a run for their money. And I know you brought up that question about Jason Rossi perhaps being the QB of the year. If you watch this game, you might have a bit of questions about him. At this point, he looked very frustrated, did not get in a rhythm, and quite frankly, he kind of vented at his team for not running the proper routes. A lot of incompletions, through a bad INT. It just didn't feel like he was the dominant guy that he was, say, 3 weeks prior. And I would probably hedge my bets slightly on him being quarterback of the year.
So, Avram, you're talking about it would be more of a clear cut than Rossi,
for now,
who's the next
yeah,
closest.
exactly.
Okay.
This is how dominant he was, Avram to Rossi's performance.
Fair enough. Thank you, MK, for the info
Captain
there.
Obvious.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. We
We have
enjoy it.
Eagle Thinks. I think we should go with a Captain Obvious segment as well.
Yeah, right. We'll do that.
Do I have
next
to wear the costume from the commercials?
Look, man, no costume necessary. Eagle, we will go.
Halloween this year at work. You can pull it off.
That's a really good idea, actually.
We'll take
Look
this
at
off.
me.
We'll take this off.
I am the obvious captain now.
All right, they're going to continue this conversation off air after the show, but on air during the show, we got Eagle Thinks coming up right now. You guys know the drill. Jim and I ask Eagle a question. Doesn't matter what the actual answer is, only what Eagle's answer is. That's what we're quote unquote betting on.
Can we start making it such that my answer is actually useful in some way?
It will
It's
not
useful in
maybe-
the sense that it's a transition topic.
Maybe like at the road show, you guys owe me a certain number of like
Definitely not.
nuggets or something. Or
Nope. So, Eagle Thinks, here we go. The question this week is, Eagle, what is, in your opinion, the number of games decided by 2 points or fewer so far in Division C? So that's essentially 1 or 2 point games. How many do you think have happened so far in Division C?
And we're at, that would be what, 9 games a week, 7 weeks? So we're at
7 weeks.
63 games?
That would be correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And 2 or less points in 63 games.
Exactly. Eagle's going to take his time here.
I have a number.
He has a number. All right. So one last time here. The question is, what is the number of games decided by 2 points or fewer so far in Division C? Jim, what do you think Eagle thinks is the answer here?
8 or less.
Ooh. Wow, that's pretty high, actually. To be honest with you, I'd probably go with like 4. But
I already started it at 8.
All right. Cheater. Well, we'll leave it at that. GM's got 8 or less. I've got 9 or higher. Eagle, what do you got?
I got 8 on the dot, actually.
God.
It's almost like we spend most of our days
almost
together.
like you guys spend all day together. Bastard. All right, GM gets the W. Pretty close, actually. The number is 6, which is, that makes sense, right? That's not crazy.
1 a week.
Yeah, that's
Less than 1 a week.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, it's not good in the sense of parity, but it's in the sense of, I guess that makes sense. The most recent one, obviously, being the Commission and Backyard Bullies. I thought I would find a pretty good transition from this to our next topic by now. I have not. Eagle, do you buy the answer being 6?
Yes, I do.
Cool, because we're moving on to buy or sell. Pretty simple.
Your transitions are worse than PZ's transitions.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Although I gotta admit, his transitions when we first started this were the best.
Yeah, like 2013, 2014. Okay,
Guys.
and now to the next topic.
Literally
Was
with those
actually
words.
what we
And
said.
now on to the next topic.
Baby steps, guys. Baby steps. As we're moving on to buy or sell here. So we got 5 topics for you guys. Pretty simple. Jim and I are going to determine whether we buy them happening or not. So the first topic here, 20 sacks for Marc-Antoine Vallée of Chaumier TDs. Buy or sell on the season.
I'm going to buy. I initially thought buy, and then I went to do some research to sort of solidify my answer. And Marc-Antoine Vallée has never broken he broke the 12 sack mark recently on 8 Boys 1 Cup last season. But on the Alpha Tees, he's alternated rushes with Chabot and Lucier. Even on 8 Boys 1 Cup, he alternated rushes with Dom Benevento, who had 7 sacks to Marc-Antoine Vallée's 12. So he split reps and still put up 12 sacks. I think that he's going to make this no problem.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy as well. He's at 15 so far in 5 games, that's insane. Like that's more than full-time rushers get in an entire season. Assuming that he plays the last 3 games, right? Because
Correct.
he'd obviously have to play those.
Or have a really
really
good
good
game.
like one game. Yeah. I mean he could do it. I think he's got.
He's
got
facing
no
Sean
fewer-
Avram,
Yeah.
Jagerbomb, and I know I forget who the third team is.
It's the Commission, Red Wave, and Jagerbomb. That's it. Those are the 3. So to be honest, I mean it's not an easy feat. I think, right? You need at least 5 in the last 3 games. Avram doesn't get sacked a lot. I saw 5 for him on this season. Mario Pareca, even fewer sacks, 4. The big question mark here is Simon Duchesne, who has 8, but it seems like those come in bunches, right? It's not exactly a 1 or 2 sack thing per game. It's like he'll have either one really bad game, and we'll leave it at that. But I agree. Listen, he only needs 5 more sacks. I think he can easily get Avram once, Mario once, and get Simon Duchesne 3 times with the way he's been rushing.
That's a
Dude's
man.
been crazy. Definitely give it to him there. As we move right along then to the next one here, the question, well, not necessarily a question, but for Royals, whether they get fewer than 200 points against by the end of the regular season.
I guess I have to say sell. And I have numbers to back this up too.
Okay.
So 3 games that remain: Backyard Bullies, Red Wave, Texas Bearmans. Texas Bearmans average 24 points a game. Red Wave average 28 points a game. And Backyard Bullies average 30 points a game.
All right, that's good. Yeah.
Right now, there are 71 points against that Royals have to defend in 3 games, so that's 23.3 points per game they have to concede. All of these teams put up better averages than that, so just based on that, I will say sell. More than 200 points will go up against Royals,
All right.
especially because I'm on that defense.
Yes. Look, to be honest, I think I'm going to give you guys the credit here. As you mentioned, 129 points so far. Everything you said is true, but none of those teams have yet to play you guys. But granted, I think for you, it's also going to be one of the, these 3 of the tougher tests. I think, given that not exactly cupcake teams, but they're not. You guys played Bearskins without their top 2 talents, right? So stuff like that plays into it. I think it's doable. I think that the big test is going to be the 2 months coming up. Red Wave are really
Red
on
Wave
a
are
tear.
surging, absolutely.
They are on a tear. That offense is really clicking. And Backyard Bullies, it depends, right? I mean, we ragged on them kind of a little bit in terms of how they're scoring points. They're up to 32 right now. Coming off last week. Texas Bearmans, I think, to be honest, that's going to be like an 18-point game. I don't see that offense doing much damage. I think you guys get it by like 1 or 2 points, man. I think it's going to be really tight. Interesting fact on that topic, 3 teams finished with fewer than 200 points against Division C last season, and 1 finished with 200 on the dot. And to be honest with you, a quick look, I don't think that many other ones will.
Coyotes?
Coyotes were definitely among them, that's for sure. But I don't see many teams finishing with fewer than 200 points this season. Everyone's they're up there. So I don't know if it's offenses doing better, defenses just not on up to par this season. Whatever the case may be, I think it might be you guys or nothing, to be honest. And I'm going to give you guys the credit because reasons. Next up, Texas Bearmans making the playoffs. Buy or sell? My reaction too.
For context purposes, where are they right now?
Yeah, I was gonna get to that.
They're in a tie.
They well right now. Hold on, give me a second here as I bring it up. They are at 2-5 on the season. They're in 8th place, behind Red Wave at 3-4. So they're in the red right now. So they essentially need to jump at the very least Red Wave. Have to hope that one of
They have
Smash
to win
Bros,
out, yeah.
Friends in Low Places, and Nuggets lose. I think it's a tall mountain to climb still.
Yeah,
to be
I'm
honest
gonna
with
sell
you.
on that one too.
I'm going to sell because, look, they could still finish with the same number of wins, but once you get into three-way ties and up, right, divisional record plays a big part here. And they're at 2-4 right now, division. And of the remaining games, Impeccable D, Home for the Landes, and Royals, I'm pretty sure 2 of those are divisions, and I think that's Impeccable D and Royals, and those
You are correct, sir.
arguably.
And they are currently in 1st and 3rd seed.
That's what I mean, right? So basically, like the 2 games that they absolutely have to win are arguably the 2 toughest games for them this season. I don't see it happening. I think that they could probably win against us, but that only puts them at 3-7 on the season. So even if everyone else ahead of them somehow finishes at also 3-7, they're still behind all of them. I think that they finished just out of the playoffs, which is crazy given how high we were on them early on, man. After that week 1 showing, week 2, man, can things turn around very quickly. As we move right along to the next one here. On the flip side, things going very nice for the commission. The commission going 10-0, buy or sell.
I would safely buy those stocks. Of the 3 teams that remain, I think that the most likely team, it's Show Me Your TDs, Friends in Low Places, and No Name. I think that Show Me Your TDs are the most likely to potentially upset this team, but it'll still be a barn burner in a close game, and I think that the commission can still edge them out. So I would buy.
I want to, but I'm not sure. It's I think Show Me Your TDs. Maybe I'm very high on them, but I think that there's the potential to upset them. I mean, like maybe I feel like I've been saying it week in and week out, but they're not. The commission aren't invincible, right? I mean, they've played a lot of close games that have come down to the last couple of drives, regardless of whatever the final score may be. There is potential there for this team to be cracked. And Mo Khan, I don't know if I want to he wants to get in here, but you mentioned how you think that come playoff time that you're not exactly confident of their abilities to necessarily go all the way. Do you think that it starts early on in the season?
Since Mo looks like he just woke up, just to reiterate what Justin just said, the commission making playoffs, will they fizzle out? Long story short.
The DNA of commission is that of late they've had relatively strong regular seasons, but come playoffs they just kind of wilt under pressure. And I think it comes down to this. I know we always talk about Sean Avram being that guy for them, but you look at their defense, right? It always gets sloppy, and they can't get that turnover to go in their favor. So I think for them, it's going to be more on their defense to make a play or two to alleviate the pressure for Avram. And if they can get that from their side of that football, they got a good chance to go far. But again, the pressure will be on them, the onus will be on them. I call them the Atlanta Falcons of FPF when it comes to great regular seasons. But aside from last year's Falcons run, mediocre playoff success.
Fair enough. I still haven't given him.
That's a great comparison because in the commission's finals run, they were ahead and lost that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like the
We'll leave that at that. Thank you. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go sell. Give me Show Me Your TDs. I'm betting the farm here.
Speaking of Show Me Your TDs.
Speaking of Show Me Your TDs, are Show Me Your TDs the biggest dark horse, or the best, whatever, dark horse, the premier dark horse to win Division C compared to all the other middle-of-the-pack teams, 4-3 and 3-4?
So I looked at a fair bit of middle-of-the-pack teams. Also, the word dark horse is very close to my heart, so I take it seriously. I don't think that Show Me Your TDs are a dark horse team at all, because we talk about them too much, number one, and we agreed that with the changes that they've made, they're in the best possible place for success at the moment.
They also don't have Doug McKernan on the roster. Get it? Because dark horses? Yes.
Okay.
That's a reference to some old
it was my team back in 2011.
Makes sense. Look.
So to cut you off,
yes.
Of the teams that remain, of the middle pack teams, three kind of stood out in my opinion. Jagerbomb, but they have a winning record right now, and we've been talking about them the same, that we're not surprised about how they're doing. Automatically not a dark horse. Junkyard Dogs also have a winning record. and have just as much ability to fizzle out as they do successful. So maybe a dark horse, but my actual choice is Smash Bros at 3 and 4. They're at 3 and 4 right now. I just came off playing them in a game that was decently close.
Not biased at all.
Not biased at all.
No.
And I looked at, there's only 3 players on this team who have played all 7 games. John Garfinkel, Patrice Lindor, and Vlad Pires. So not in that list, your quarterback, your snapper, and the highest rated player. So the fact that they haven't fielded a complete roster for the bulk of the season is worrying, but if all of these people manage to qualify for playoffs, like if the core of the team qualifies for playoffs, this is a completely different team.
Okay. All right. That's a fair point. I'm going to disagree slightly just because I don't think that even with their full roster there, that they can necessarily, that they have the kind of playing style and or talent that can match up with other top teams. That's just my opinion. Look, the way I'm looking at Dark Horse essentially is just, these a bunch of 3 and 4, 4 and 3 teams are all up in the middle. Not exactly, yes, we've talked about Tournament TDs a lot over the course of the season, but look, they're still 4 and 3 on the season. So for me, they remain as such. They remain that middle of the pack team, that outside team looking in. Well, not outside looking in right now, but in terms of playoff standings,
not the perceived top dog.
No, exactly. That I think that they have what it takes to, of all these other teams here, that they can really give these teams a run for their money. I don't see Nuggets doing that. I don't see Friends No Places doing that. Same for Smash Bros. Impeccable D, yes, but that's they're just coming off the 2 tough losses here. No Name, it's the same thing. I have a tough time seeing these teams compete with the top dogs. Whereas for some of your TDs, with the way that they're run right now, on their 3-game winning streak, with Jesse Zupi at quarterback, I definitely do see that happening. I think that they can very easily give other commission next week a run for their money. I guess we will see when that time comes. As that does it for us for Eagle Thinks, as we move right along into the previews section. First up, speaking of Smash Bros taking on Friends in Low Places. Who do you got?
I like Smash Bros for this. A lot of dynamic playmakers on defense. This will be a defensive battle as well, with the sort of names that we're familiar with on Friends in Low Places as well. 2 quarterbacks who aren't necessarily known for their quarterbacking skills in this league, but who have tried it and move up divisions in Jonah Cohen and Danny Demore. This is going to be a close game decided by the defenses.
And it will be who will be the decider.
Smash Bros.
All right. Oh yeah. All right. Good. I'm gonna go the opposite direction. I think I'm gonna go with Friends No Places. Smash Bros on a 3-game skid. Interestingly enough, they have yet to score more than 4 TDs in the game. Granted, a couple of those were without their main quarterback there, but the fact remains, I'm not too sold on their offense. It just hasn't looked, again, as good as I would really expect them to be. On the flip side, Danny Demore, yes, he's not exactly known as a 30 or 40 point type of guy, but with Jonah Cohen liking to go with his out and ups, liking to chuck it kind of deep, again, teams will always take Danny Demore for granted, and he always shows up and makes plays. I see him getting 1 or 2 picks here and doing just enough to win this game. Next, Blue Chips taking on Junkyard Dogs.
This is going to come down to the sort of combined rush of Josephakis or Mike Furfagrad of Junkyard Dogs. It all comes down to that at this point. Blue Chips have been in that sort of death spiral, and I've been critical of them as of late, but I think that they can pull this one out.
Wow, really?
Yep.
So you think that, well, if you're mentioning the rushers here, you think that Jordan Mitchell's going to get the best of them? You think
Yes,
he's
I
got?
do.
All right.
I think that also that while the Junkyard Dogs roster is a little bit more disciplined, just the dynamic playmaking ability of Blue Chips at this point, Marcus Mitchell, Sanders Armand, it's going to be enough to put this game over for them, especially as Mo mentioned, with a sort of frustrated Rossi who isn't at his peak of quarterbacking right now.
Well, yeah, the reason I'm going to go the opposite direction is for that exact reason. He's been so inconsistent, it seems, these past couple of
So you're saying
seasons.
he's due?
Honestly, yeah, I think so. And look, having seen Rossi play, having played against him a few times already, it seems like that anger is kind of almost built in. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's how he gets fired up. Maybe that's how he gets his team fired up. It seems like some weeks it works, some weeks it doesn't. Last week was not one of those such weeks. But man, Blue Chips they've been, my underdog all season long, and it just hasn't worked out for whatever reason recently. I think that Junkyard Dog stack up rather well against Blue Chips. I think that if we just saw Blue Chips turn the ball over 5 times against a Jagerbomb team not exactly known for having one of the better secondaries in the division, and Junkyard Dogs I think do have that talent with Jacob Burnett, with Marc-André Lapointe. Just that's it. Just to name. I mean, the list goes on really in terms of their abilities on defense. I do think the Junkyard Dogs match up rather well against them. So I'm going to go with JYD here, and Carmen Police continuing on his tear, man. Been killing it. No Name versus Going Deep for the last one here.
This one kind of interests me. Going Deep have one win compared to No Name's 2, but Going Deep have the win over Show Me Your TDs, who are in a 3-way tie for 3rd, and the 2 No Name wins are over the teams below them in 7th and 8th. Thank you for contributing to that.
I got you.
So that's an interesting first glance. But I think that's sort of where it ends. Okay. I think that No Name are going to take this one. I
keep going against Going Deep. I think that the brain says No Name. The heart just sees Going Deep. Yep. No Name. Of note, Hinsley Adams with his first touchdowns of the season just last week. He got 4 catches, 40 yards, 2 TDs.
It's funny that we discussed that like Hinsley Adams was one of the receivers who wasn't getting a lot of offensive output, and Jonathan Garfinkel on Smash Bros, and they both had big games this week.
Yeah. So, but see, the thing is, well, A, hold on, is it going to continue? And B, is it even going to matter, right? Because No Name, even with those 2 big TDs from Hinsley Adams, they still only scored 3 on the night in their loss to Show Me Your TDs. So, whatever it is, the offense just isn't. It's just not producing touchdowns. And granted, now going deep here, Division C worst, 87 points, 4 on the season. Second worst, only 2. No Name. So I see a low scoring game here. I see Going Deep potentially getting the W. If kind of everything goes their way, if they get the INTs that they need to on Christian Sarnatola, and if Pat Wright is able to convert on in those red zone situations, which he's kind of struggled with a little bit, if all that goes, Going Deep can pull this out. But
I'm curious about this too for the playoff implications. If you could bring up both Going Deep and No Names.
Well, I'll bring it up for us, and Eagle is going to bring it up for the.
It's already up.
Thank you. Because what I'm curious about would be that in the instance where Going Deep beat No Name, is it still feasible for No Name to make playoffs?
Well, at that point, they would actually have a tied record, because right now No Name has 2-5. Going Deep is 1-6.
Yeah.
So that would
both be 2-6.
match them basically.
Yeah. And then who are the remaining opponents?
I'm just thinking out loud. So No Name would go down to 2-5 divisional. Going Deep would go up to 2-5 divisional. If that makes any sense.
We're gonna hold the phone here. Here's what No Name's got left. After Going Deep, they got Smash Bros and Commission. What do we got?
You wanted to hold the phone.
Thank you.
That's a visual joke on an audio podcast.
They got Smash Bros. And Commission left, and Going Deep have MVE and Home for the Hollandaise. So, man, that's those are two
Going Deep have the better likelihood to make playoffs.
They do. But they're the weaker team, I think, overall than No Name.
They need to do better than if No Name is status quo and Going Deep is status quo. At that point, then No Name gets in, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think. Well, look, we'll wait and see if Going Deep win this game,
and we'll take it from there.
What the situation will be playoff wise, and then if we win, it gets even better, baby, because then we're all 2-6.
If this game becomes a tiebreaker criteria because of a head-to-head, that'll be crazy.
That would be very insane. I guess we'll have to wait and see to find out. I am still at the end of the day going to take No Name here by like a point, just because being right is important to me in my life and daily, day-to-day things.
So we took a 5-minute tangent for you to agree with me at the end.
Absolutely, definitely. And look at us, 32 minutes, and that's what I got. pretty good on time. GM, your final thoughts?
Yeah, unfortunately. James Floriani was absent from the Royals Smash Bros. Game. His grandfather passed. So just from the FPF family, we offer our condolences. We're really sorry. And it always sucks to have news like that.
Definitely. I think we'll end it at that. Guys.
If you guys didn't hear, we have a winter season coming up, which is wonderful. The FPF
I think you mean a
Cup.
fall season.
Oh, that's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
Fall Cup. Yes. I'm so used to saying winter. The Fall Cup's coming up, so more information is going to be out over the next few weeks, a little bit at a time. Super exciting, though. So it's a new tournament format with the grand prize being admission to the World Cup Championship trophy, whatever it is, but flag football in Indianapolis.
Which in itself is not very exciting, but the rest of that, very exciting. Thanks, Eagle. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We will catch you guys next week.